first round's always a warm-up round, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. Usual Wednesday stuff. We'll be going over this past
Steven.
Monday. What's up, Steven? All right. Let's get into it. Still going on with half guard this week, so we'll be looking for some of that. Got me and Chris starting it off. Pablo and Jordan. Oh, and you and Steven. I think Chris and Pablo are starting to get a lot more comfortable on the feet. I feel like
Yeah, I would say so. I know Chris always wants to go from standing with me, so that's a good sign.
Yeah, I like that. I got him down with just a little, like I slipped behind on a kind of a duck under, like he just got his elbow too high, and then it was pressing him forward, like I tell you guys to do. Don't just stand there when you get behind somebody, move them forward, and just a little heist with my thigh to get his legs out from underneath him and taking him down to the side. And then Jordan comes at Pablo with, okay, so Pablo gets a little low on that single, brings his head down a little too much. Jordan takes control. Meanwhile, Steven is looking to get behind you. What's up, James?
Yeah, he's got a cradle on me. He actually has my left leg cradled. So he has a half cradle on me.
I'm working my way through back control on Chris here. I don't remember if I got this one or not. I don't think I do, yeah. Is that
It's like
James? Yeah.
James and Austin, and then Jason and Luke in the top. What's up, James?
Where'd your flare go, bro? You were a brown belt. You get on that submission. Or the subscription, not submission. So Austin with a little arm drag, I think. Yeah, a little arm drag.
Yeah.
Gets behind James. And then trying to hit that back trip. Now for the leg weave. So I'd like to see on the leg weave, Austin, that left leg that's coming over. I want to see your foot, your shoelaces go all the way across and behind James's knee in order to secure that, and start putting, it'll start to put, as you like straighten that leg out when you get it into place, it puts some backwards pressure on James's left leg and some forwards pressure on James's right leg. So a little bit of a torque that you can apply as you start to sag heavy to one side and look for the back take. And then James trying to counter that with, it looked like the knee bar entry. Just playing 50-50 here. Oh, there it is. I don't know, the Twitch chat always screws up one way or another. Sometimes it doesn't even show up.
Well, now you got Flair or something next year.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
All right, so James putting to work, or trying to put to work some of the half guard stuff we went over that class. Meanwhile, Jordan right here. Oh, he just about had a guillotine. So let's look at this pass from Pablo. So, right here. Staying very tight. His hips were staying super tight to Jordan's leg. Didn't give Jordan a chance to get that leg back in, which is great. Did Luke tap? Oh, Luke got his...
Kimura he taught.
Yeah. Yeah, alright, let's look at that. So... over here. Luke always dangerous from bottom half guard. Attacking the Kimura on Jason. And then getting the sweep. Notice Luke doesn't even... He had a chance to backstep his leg out. He doesn't care. He knows he has a good position on the Kimura right now. I think he's trying to adjust his grip at this point. Leaning further over Jason to get his left arm in a better position for the finish. Puts me in a calf slicer. Okay. Yeah, Austin's been digging those, man. So. Yep. Yeah, he's looking for it.
And Gumby legs.
Yeah. That was a good good angle he took there to get that. He looked very deliberate in how he was trying to get there. Let's do that one more time. So from an outside Ashigarami, see, you could see him like just kind of shoulder walking his way around.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, let's see. James is controlling at the knee here. Let's go back a few frames. Because I think what Austin's trying to do is use his right foot to step on his left foot.
Mm-hmm.
And James is taking that opportunity away. Like, he's minimizing the amount that that Austin can use his right leg, the secondary leg, to like apply some pressure.
Yeah, he also could triangle his legs. Maybe he's trying to slip the knee over top in order to, because the triangle can put some pressure down too. I like the foot stomp personally, you know, if you can get there, but
Yeah.
he's kind of trapped underneath James' weight here, so I don't know if he'd be able to get to the foot stomp.
And now he bails out on it. Looks like Steven was attacking his own Kimura there on you.
Yeah, he was trying to get to my back, working body locks a lot. I was really trying to focus on getting out of his body lock pass.
And Pat with the armbar attempt on Mitchell.
And then Mitchell in on a big reap.
I think Mitchell's getting to the point with the leg locks that like we can start giving him a little bit more polish on the finish on these moves. Like he still has got to get his leg configurations sorted out, but
That's what I was gonna say as well. Yep.
he's got the right idea, like or at least the intention, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Which it's a good. I mean, that is the starting point. So I'd like to see him straight ankle a couple of you guys. All right, active first round. Oh yeah, this is my first match with James since he's been back. Showing what he learned at Fairtex, just kicking at my shins. I started it though.
Pablo went in on a leg again, trying to get up to that single, and Chris kind of gave him a little bit of hip pressure down. So he goes in on that single, and then yeah, Chris winds up popping him down.
Yeah, so I feel like something that's going wrong here. Pablo's staying a little too static, right? Right. He's got the leg locked up. He even has his rear leg kind of like grapevine around Chris's leg. But what I'm not seeing is pushing Chris over his other foot. If you can get Chris's head over top of his foot, like on this line, that's going to make that right leg, the one he's attacking, a lot lighter, a lot easier to pick up.
Yeah, also keeping in mind that he has the underhook on Chris here. Like, yeah, you could go for a leg, I guess. But for me, this is, you know, shucking him forward, trying to get Chris stepping forward so that I can hit it go behind. I feel like he's more set up. You know, he's behind the legs. In fact, Chris has an Uchimata potentially if he can get a good enough whizzer or overhook on that arm. You know, Pablo could be in danger that way.
Yeah, and if Chris is whizzering on that arm, it's going to be hard to get the go behind. Your plan C, if that is the case, is tripping him backwards, right?
Yep.
So you have, you know, instead of grapevining that leg, you take a grip at the waist and pull him backwards over your rear leg, tripping him to the mat.
Yep.
So you can work the single, the go behind if he doesn't whizzer you. If he does whizzer you, you can get him off balance or trip him backwards. You have so many options from there. And then you could also try to win that front leg position to avoid the Uchimata. Get one yourself, switch to a Haragoshi, whatever. So James was like, I was chasing James down so bad I didn't want to stand with him anymore. And I was like, good, finally I'm going to get behind him and trip him. And he's like, cool, let me have that Kimura though.
Yeah.
I knew he was going to rip my arm up too, and I'm like, I cannot let him get this arm.
Yeah, I think I was telling him that was your good arm.
Which it wasn't. He asked me. He was asking if my shoulder was still good. I will always tap if I need to. So. Oh yeah, that's where he asked me. Definitely in some trouble here though. Not enjoying the smash. James, I'm just glad you've been here to largely to miss the long span of getting our faces smashed by everyone's chest pressure. Like I was expecting it, and I was like, oh wait, I think he's just going for the head and arm strangle. I can handle this. The main thing I'm doing here though, because I was anticipating some smothering, was getting that V grip in the armpit and just bringing my shoulders up and shin down. To breathe, to not have my nose smashed, just to minimize the discomfort. That does nothing for the head and arm, the Katagatame, but it lets me survive a little bit without getting waterboarded by your sweaty rash guard.
That's the same tactic I use against Jason here in a couple rounds.
Did Chris get Pablo something? Oh, okay, yeah. So Chris gets his own Katagatame. Working from mount, crawling to a high mount. Even getting the arm. Okay, Pablo just kind of gave that to him. Just a lapse in judgment there on his part. And Chris goes in for the finish. I have a feeling Pablo was more concerned with the chance of like a mounted triangle because Chris stepped over that leg, or I'm sorry, Chris stepped over his arm. But yeah, he just brought his arm right into the worst position it could be in for the head and arm. Oh, dude, Ronnie later. Don't let me forget to find our roll. should be front and center, but she taps me with like, I was so scared for my shoulders with what she got me with. Yeah, it was basically like a full Nelson, but in a very strange, mean way.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
It was the Bertram like arm weave, behind the head thing.
And then cranking your head forward, bowing your chin down to your chest.
She absolutely nailed it.
Yeah.
Your flying arm bars, yeah, dude. You hit 3 of them already.
Yeah.
They're beautiful.
We're not going to rewind that.
No, absolutely not. James almost got me with a good foot sweep there. I think, James, if you had a little more pressure on the on the upper body, I probably would have gone for a ride. This little setup for the double though just came from a snap and then a quick level change and then trying to jump to clear the legs.
You have to on James too, because he can put on the squeeze from that side on if he catches you in half guard. Like, that's no good. And
we saw in the last stream, James, you commented about crunching versus pulling on the guillotine.
Oh yeah.
So I wasn't waiting to find out how much you learned about that. And you'll notice too on that move, I think I've said this in the past when going over guillotine stuff, I prioritized my body position over the safety of my neck on that one. Like I didn't, I shot a double, my head was on the outside. You repped up the front headlock, but I know I'm fine if I can get to the right position. So I don't like immediately go hands to your arm and protect my neck. I think I got under, I don't remember if I got under the neck there. I hope I did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know.
Crush his face. Well, you know, James, I got to do what I got to do. Can't just let you come back into my life like this and beat me, you know? Look at this throw from Jason on Steven. And Steven immediately to a front headlock.
That was a nice trip.
And that was, let's see, so this was just preventing his hands from coming together. I was focusing 2-on-1 just to keep him from getting a grip.
On the neck.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not concerned. I don't have to be concerned with the guillotine or like if he snaps me down and goes into a darce or something like that. And then it leaves this window open under his arm for me to slip an underhook and then use the back trip that I was talking about for Chris as a plan C. It was the exact same move. So to my underhook, I get my leg behind him and I push him backwards with a little pressure from my head. Maybe not quite what I was talking about with Chris, because that was more of a pull with the tight waist. Damn, Steven wanted that double so bad. Jason had some solid defense with it, though. Ooh, you see that? Jason trying the Osoto Gari, or not the Osoto, the Seonagi. Watch. He's looking for the setup. Man. I
showed it I think last Thursday.
Okay.
Whatever Thursday I was talking about like how somebody will put that power hand on you.
Yeah.
And without addressing anything else. Yeah. And I wonder if that's what he was thinking. I'll take credit for it anyway.
Yeah, of course. That's what coaches do. This kind of bums me out though. Steven, you were about to go for a ride if he tightened up a few things here. First off, when you're going to go for this, Jason, it takes full commitment. Right now, well, let's see. We'll skip a few frames ahead. All right, you do turn in the right direction. You can kind of tell where Jason's going to end up based on which way his toes are pointing. I'd like to see that. I'm being real nitpicky right now. If his toes face 180 degrees from Steven, like basically the arrow coming out of Steven's chest. That's the way Jason wants to be facing right now. Additionally, you can hit standing seonagis, and like in judo they're beautiful, but you have the benefit of the gi and the grips. Yeah, exactly. Good thing I didn't have a gi on. Yeah, 100%. With, you know, even with the gi, I think, I don't know, I'm talking out of school right now, but I think you'll have more success with the level drop to between the legs. I think what's called an ippon seonagi. So Jason, for you, what that means is as you turn, dropping to both knees and kind of swinging in between Steven's legs. And then with your level change, you know, you crunch your abs down. Steven's level will drop. He's gonna, you know, get head over feet and lose his balance, and you'll have a highlight reel toss there. I love that he went for that though. That looked great, and he didn't give up his back, so super important. I couldn't remember if this was James's first roll with Luke since he'd been back. But Luke came over to both of us and was like, all right, who's next? And I was like, James is going with you. I'm not going with you. Totally threw him to the dogs.
He trained with James last Thursday.
Oh, okay. Luke looking for his own front headlock. Different
He
style
went straight
double.
in for a double. That was nice.
So that arm drag double that he likes.
Yep.
He didn't get the leg entanglement there. I know he likes to step in on that.
Yep.
But he got his hand on the leg.
Right leg.
Right there.
This is fine too, though. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
at this point, as long as you can wrap up the knees, then, you know, you're pretty much, you have the double on that one.
Yeah,
There's
for
not
sure.
much that you're gonna be able to do.
Yeah, and notice how much notice how rotational this is. Like, watch Luke's path through this whole move. Just circle, 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 circle. Even when James's butt hits the ground, he's circling behind him.
A knee strike? Did we pass it already, Jordan?
Catch my face smashing Steven's knee.
Oh,
Let us know when it happens. I'll be happy to look at it. A face strike to his knee. Okay.
not
Yeah.
pass. Yeah.
Those are rarely effective. Dare I say never. Awesome with a little tripod sweep. Now is this is that same variation that threw me for a loop the other day, where he's grabbing with the inside arm, or no?
Yep.
Right? It's where, yeah, I think he grabs with the inside arm rather than
No.
the outside.
No, this is like standard.
Okay.
But I think whoever was playing No, you're right. That is awkward looking.
Yeah.
That
And
is- yeah.
I've been doing it this week, and I kind of like it more. I don't know why. My heel will hit your face. Can't wait to see it. Chris again looking for some stuff in that high mount position.
Yeah, I was curious to see if he was how he was going to set this up. He starts isolating my left hand here. I kind of bait him out with it. He's got the left hand. I wind up just letting it go. I'm like, okay, let's see if I can get out of this thing. And so I let my arm go. I tried to make a little bit of pressure because he was putting a decent amount of pressure on my face. And then I'm wondering, like, how can I get out of this if he is successful and gets and gets me fully isolated, and then he bails on it. And I was like, well, shit. Now, but he gave me the underhook.
Yeah.
So I just get up and take top position from here.
Yeah, I'm curious. We can only speculate what he's thinking. But right here, setting that leg up behind your arm makes me think he's either looking for an S mount or he's thinking about a mount to triangle. The problem is that's more of a wrong way triangle setup.
Yep.
Which again, it's not like impossible to work with those from mount. Just a little bit more difficult because your body weight's pinning your leg. Your opponent's body weight is helping that. What I would like to see Chris focus on here, even with that leg in place where it's at, fine, leave it there. Your right elbow is really far away from your body, and Chris needs to take full advantage of that, especially with this high mount that he's at. Like he can really put you in some trouble here. If he took a little second, like right there with the cross face,
just to close it up with the knee.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see the crossface doing anything in a high mount if you don't have an underhook. You know, like it's if you're gonna do that, I don't know, you're too high for the Katagatame. I just don't. Maybe there's something I'm not thinking of, but like, you shouldn't be cross-facing that high. You should be underhooking and isolating arms, I feel like. Cross-facing is great from half guard, from a lower mount position, side control, whatever. Your shoulders are just typically too far up over the head. Now he's adjusted back down. Like, this isn't a good frame to judge that on. But yeah, like right here, you know, his shoulders are pretty north of your head at this point. Like, a crossface isn't really going to do much. Switch to an underhook there instead. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I normally, when I'm in that position, you need to get away from my right arm. You're 100% right. That frame that I have in with my right hand it may have been why he wound up dismounting. He may not have felt very safe there. What I'm setting up when I'm kind of lowering down like that is I'm trying to set up a kip. So you can see like my hips start raising up, like I'm trying to get him a little bit further north. And then I'm trying to see what he's doing with my left hand. And if I catch him going onto that side, I'm going to give him a nice big bump with my right hand and then try and kip out to the side. Yeah. And when he dismounted like that, it kind of threw me off. And then I just went immediately in for that underhook and came up into this type of a standing position, and then he fell back into a guard, so I wound up getting the sweep.
I want to give Steven his due here against Jordan. So from side control, looking under the chat, isolating the arm, working to an Americana. Nice. And then Luke gets he gets a straight arm here, I think, on James as well.
Yep.
Foot stomp from Jordan into a leg attack.
I was trying to body lock past Chris here. It's so bad. I don't think I got it. I can't remember if I did.
I mean, you're past at this point.
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking maybe later in the round. I know I was trying a different type of pass. And for him and his freaking wiry ass legs, I don't know if you, I mean, you could tell the grip that I took on the leg. Instead of me trying to fold underneath both of his legs, I weaved in between,
Yeah.
and only hooked the near side leg, and that was in order to hike it up to get my right knee behind his knee. And once I got into that position, he still has the underhook here, right? And we talk about like being aware of that. But my weight is over top of his elbow, if not over top of his like forearm. And I get a little overzealous on this, on the mount. I thought I was going to be able to hook behind his knee, and he elevates me really well and winds up regarding.
So you were trying to do what Steven does right there.
Right. Yep.
Really, really similar, even in your side control
Same
configurations.
Exact same setup. Yep.
Yeah. Jordan didn't have the underhook, but same thought process there to get to mount. Yeah, and Chris he was ready there for the step over. That was good timing on his part.
So here I'm trying to set up some passes with, like by switching my hips. He was ready for it this time. I was successful the last time we trained, and I was able to really guide his legs to the other side of his body, using my knees and my legs, like kind of like leg riding him all the way down. And what he did really well was he grabbed a wrist grip on me, and he used his legs to kind of like, almost like a spider guard type of a thing, or a lasso even, pulled me in nice and tight, and then used his shins to keep my arms out in a way to really guide where my pressure was going.
Is this you're talking about from here?
No, further back. You don't have to rewind. He stuffed my my double unders.
Man, I wanted to see him sit right into a leg entanglement there.
I know. I did too.
I gotta show him that. Because I feel like that he likes that version of the double ankle sweep where you're not using your hamstrings on their thighs to push them back. He's using like it's almost like a waiter sweep with that shin pressure on the knee. And then he could just slip right into a Rimiashi if you wanted. Oh, pointing to the camera with Austin. Look at it. Look at it.
I think we missed the heel to the face.
Yeah, what happened? Where was that? I was promised carnage. Maybe it was behind the pillar. I don't know. Was it this roll?
The very end.
In the last 30 seconds here. Just the walk-off standing straight ankle. What a dick move.
Before this.
Well, that's not the very end, dude. I'm looking for like a step over. Let me see if well, now I'm disappointed. Moving on. Watch Mitch try to thrash me. And then we got, it's you and Jason, okay.
Jason was doing a really good job, with the body lock setups, and then trying what I keep calling it the rugby pass, but pinning the knees together. That was a nice throw by
right. The suplex. Whoopah.
We train light at our gym.
Yeah, totally. She's done that to me. It's a fun one. Yeah, I'm sure Jason would argue with me, but he's had some. I feel like he's had some significant offensive breakthroughs in the last month or two.
Yeah, the setups that he was just getting and what he's about to do with my arm here.
He was looking for the back step out of half guard.
Yep.
You were in butterfly half though, which
that's where I kept throwing him off. He didn't really. A butterfly half can be very difficult for people to handle. And I have him in butterfly half here, but he does a really good job of trying to isolate my left arm. And I'm like, oh, he's not going to be able to get this. And then in a little bit, I'm kind of like, oh, I'm going to give him that pass because I can't. I couldn't put weight in the other direction, otherwise I was going to lose my arm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually really interesting. So he gets his Kimura grip, and then if you do the same thing that you did just before that, right here, like here he has no control over your arm.
Yep.
So you can follow him because that exposes your back.
Yep.
But you don't care because why would you?
Right.
And now you care because exposing your back means your knuckles are behind your back, which is a Kimura. Yep. So you say, ooh, I can't follow you now.
Take it. I had to concede it because he put me in that type of predicament. So dude, I was like, okay.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's a really, really good dilemma.
Pablo's in on that single again. Winds up getting it on Jordan there.
Yeah.
So I think it was last Thursday when I was training with Jason. Out of the 6-minute round, I think I got on top for 5 minutes, and I just attempted to smother him the entire time.
Yeah, yeah.
So this time he wanted to get me back like really bad.
Good.
He's going for this gift wrap because he wants my back.
So Ronnie's dealing with Austin's butterfly half too. But she hasn't cleared the knee yet. Well, Jason got your back. Oh, is this why you guys were talking about?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, the hand fighting and the escaping and all that. Gotcha.
Yeah, so he does a really good job here. He has so what he was getting confused on, notice that I switched to the locked side of the body triangle.
Yep.
A lot of my partners have a hard time being on the lock side.
I hate it.
Yeah, I generally try to do that because number one, it's either going to put a tremendous amount of pressure on your ankle and you're going to wind up letting go of the body triangle, or two, I know that you're going to try and go to the top side, so you're going to briefly unlock your legs and switch, which means that I can generally get my hips out when that happens. I can time it, you know. Here he doesn't unlock his legs, he keeps it down, and you'll see my right leg. You see how my right leg is pulled all the way back, like behind his butt. That's just putting a ton of pressure on his ankle, and I wind up getting him to try and extract his leg, and then I can get out of the back take.
I'm sure he's happy to lay some pressure on you, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everybody's on notice now. We talked with Jason about just strategies with hand fighting and everything after this. And I think a lot of you are going to catch his forearms across your face in the near future. I'm sure I'm one of them. I'm sure you are too.
Yeah.
I think he'll take more to Coach Luke's approach to exposing the neck than some of like the the straight jacket stuff that you see from us.
Hmm. I mix it up. I know I do. It
I
depends
have
on
to.
the person I'm training with.
Yeah, I had to do that with James earlier. It was
Mm.
a lot of cross facing versus the traditional like straight jacket approach. There's always a bit of an element of each in there. You know, I'm not. I tend not to go two strangle arms, um, unless like you force me to that position. Then I'll fight with it. But I
Mhm.
always like to have one arm holding the other arm. You know, throw the legs into the mix, make you think about that. Come back to bugging at the nose, lifting the chin up, all that stuff. All right, Stephen and Ronnie, Chris and Jordan, and Luke
Is that
and
Mitch
Pat.
and Luke?
No, it's Pat back there.
Oh, Mitch is over there on the left.
So Ronnie really clamping on this half guard. There we go. Foot wedge in.
That's a tough half guard to be in terms of like you really don't have much of a half guard there. This is more quarter guard than anything. Yeah,
I
was expecting a back take.
Yeah, I think Steven handled that perfectly. The problem that Ronnie is putting herself in with all this grip is she's not going to advance at all, right? She's holding on with this S grip on the arm. Those are two frames that are not creating space. And then, the legs, she's crossed ankles, holding on tight. Those are, two legs that are not trying to get back between her and Steven. So Steven says, cool, let me, I'm going to go ahead and keep my leg there. I'm going to try to scoot my left knee up the body, close to your head. And then I'll just take the back take instead.
With that leg configuration for Veronica, I would advise, because you're kind of in a shitty spot, but you also have access to like the Jeff Glover style deep half, right? So unlocking the hands, then shooting the right arm through and hugging the same hip, that you have your legs wrapped around, right? And going in super, super deep. Now, when you do that, you're leaving your left arm behind, and you have to have that as like a contingency. So you have to swim under and then give a nice big shoulder bump in order to try and swing out of that. But she did have her hips high enough on Steven's leg to potentially get a good deep half guard going. It could have been an option. Yeah. That's what you were thinking too, Pinball. Yeah.
Yes, James, absolutely. Yeah, I don't think we've seen Ronnie use deep half too much. Now that I'm thinking
It can
about
be
it.
a very powerful tool. I personally suck at it. Like I go when I say deep half, I like it's not the true deep half. It's the far side leg deep half.
Right.
Is generally what I go for. I've played with it on you before, and I wind up getting rear triangled when I go for a real like the true deep half.
Steven had one response to it on me. This was maybe a couple months back now. I think we saw it on stream too. But whatever he did, I think it was like the deepest armbar I think I'd ever been put in. Like it was the nastiest, quickest onset, either an armbar or a triangle or something. But it's like, cool. Maybe that's not for me. I'm curious if Jeff Glover had so much success with that because it was at the time something that wasn't worked, something that wasn't used too much in high level competition. I don't recall, I wasn't following jiu-jitsu much when he was like out there competing a whole lot.
It was like early mid 2000s, right?
Yeah, so I don't really know the lay of the land as far as how much half guard variations were used. Ooh, a little knee bar from Steven. But I know Glover, built a hell of a game off of it.
Yeah. I mean, Tom teaches it too, right? Like Tom's
Right.
a huge advocate of that type of deep half guard. Tom, like, when you feel Tom's upper body locked down on your leg, it's like you're not getting out. Like you can't, if you turn, you feel like you're gonna pop your own hip when you try and turn out of it.
Right. Yeah, and let's see before I say anything. So Ronnie just being lazy on that arm, leaving it wide open. Yeah, and like the big obvious difference between DeBlas and Glover is size. Like that's why Glover's ability to use that position as well as he did is kind of mystifying to me. Luke, I'm sure of course Tom could, but Luke being our closest analog to Tom's game, Luke gets into deep half, he makes you move. He'll always get me off balance, always get my hands planted. He'll always be able to pendulum and get me moving. Whereas a smaller guy like Jeff Glover, it's like, how does he, if he can't make you move, what else is he doing in that position? Obviously the answer is moving himself, but in what ways, and what is he thinking as he does it? It makes me think that maybe I shouldn't give up hope on that whole system, but maybe in the future I'll play around with that.
Yeah, I go through waves of trying it out. It's like because then you go through training and all of a sudden you're like, damn, why don't I use this? And then you get triangle and you're like, that's why.
Yeah.
And then
I tried to hit my Sasai Surikomiyashi there on Ronnie, and then I tried to switch to Aragoshi. Then I'm like, no, just get down. And I just shook it down instead.
All right, we got a highlight reel coming from Steven and James here.
Little barn burner. How many times do you kick him in the face, Steven?
Tenderize your opponent.
Nothing happened for 6 minutes. Great. We'll let you guys play patty cakes and watch Sean deal with Chris's guard. And watch Ronnie eventually break both of my shoulders.
Yeah, so Sean is trying this over under. Sean's fresh here. Like, he came in fresh. Because we didn't know he was at the door.
Yeah.
And finally let him in at, I don't know, like 9 o'clock or something. So he came in fresh, and he tried that over under, and Chris is very nimble and wound up getting I don't know what the hell he was able with his right knee.
He just extended his right knee away.
Yeah.
And was able to regard off of that. I've tried the over-under sweep with Chris, and I haven't had much luck with it. Not my best. Did I say over-under sweep? Over-under pass. Not my best one in general. But against old Gumby there, it's even harder.
So you've got this weird triangle set up. Legs are crossed.
Yeah,
she's so good at scooting out of that and getting out of that, man.
Yeah. Steven and James still standing.
High clip on the shin there.
Romantic music. 5 minutes of dancing.
It looks like Sean is in on a guillotine to try and pass the guard, or even just finish with the sub here.
It's it.
Got it.
Got the tap. Ronnie had a really nice little turtle breakdown here too. Not gonna sweep her. Maki kombis do not work well for me. But then she grabs that near leg and just kind of breaks me down in like a pretty traditional fashion, I would say.
Very nice.
I like the arm behind the hip. As she passes around, she put so much pressure on during this pass. This was miserable. Her crossface and my left arm was caught under her body as she was passing around. Right there, that's relief. That's not anything but just relief. Like right here, my left arm is getting smashed, and my spine is getting cramped. I mean, look at the pain and the displeasure on my face. It really was absolutely miserable, and that's what I was trying to tell her that I think a few weeks back. Like you need to make this miserable as you're passing and establishing your side control, and I wish I didn't tell her that, or I wish she did it on everybody else.
Not me.
Yeah, but like every bit of that pass was awful for me. Great for her.
Yeah, no, that looked miserable. Good.
And then 2-on-1 on my arm, gets my arm isolated, just starting to settle in. And
oh yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
God, I wish it was a better angle.
Bro, I know that feeling. She did that to me. Oh, it's been a while, but yeah, she's done that to me. It's terrible.
Yeah. So for those of you trying to figure out what's going on, her forearm isn't across my neck; it's behind my neck. So she's got me in this like, it's a half Nelson, but it feels like a full Nelson when your arms get brought up behind your head and your shoulder blades are being pinched together and your shoulders are about to pop out of their socket. And as she turns me up, like right here, my arm comes up, her body gets on, like her ribs are under my tricep.
Yep.
And I felt like both of my arms were going to break.
Yeah, that's solid.
So I had to give her a verbal tap. What was that?
That was some straight up cat shit right there.
That was great.
Yeah. We welcome all forms of grappling.
So 30 seconds.
Submission grappling.
Yeah. I was really, really happy that she got that. All pain and anguish aside.
You know, 3/4 juji here.
Yeah, and her grip was really tight, so I think she was actually using an S grip, which, you know, for that little tug of war move you saw me pull there, I had my foot in, so I was trying to like do my thing where I kind of lull you into relaxing for a moment and then explode out so your grip breaks. Didn't work, so instead what I do is I bring my hips in really, really tight to her shoulder. That way, it makes sure that she's got a long way to go before she can do it. Before she can turn towards me and get her elbow to the mat. This allows me to put both of my arms to work. See, I actually don't have an elbow-to-elbow grip right now. I'm purely using the confidence of my chest to her elbow connection as I take both hands in and pry her grip apart. Again, grabbing at the knuckles, not at single digits or anything like that. But to break that S grip open. And then once I did, I could immediately set in my elbow to elbow hook on her arm and get the tap.
So Sean was able to get past Chris.
All right, so he's working from half guard.
Yep, chest to chest connection, starting to pummel his legs in.
Goes for the knee cut.
Goes knee cut, which is a good call. I feel like that's the strongest pass from there.
I really like this. I like the really high TP of the hips.
Yep.
So he cross faces underhooks and then walks his feet closer and closer until he gets his knee free. Looks like he thinks knee staple first, and then decides to hit the knee cut. That was really nice.
It was. It's a solid pass.
to James pulling guard. Look at this action. James taking not taking a page out of my book, but doing the exact same thing I do with Steven. When I get into his body lock, just pressure the head, push his shoulders down. And I think Steven's got the right answer for that now. I'll talk about that when my roll with him pops up.
I have a different. I've been playing with different tactics with Steven's body lock. Some successful, most not successful.
My first answer to it, or my first defense in this round against his body lock worked, and then he made a really good adjustment we'll look at later. James immediately on a guillotine on Chris, using it to get to top half guard. Steven about threw me there.
Yeah.
Good thing I'm so big and heavy. I go to throw him and I end up throwing myself instead.
Yeah. And on a leg. That was nice.
That's what I'd like to see from Pablo on his singles.
I agree. It's not. Yeah, I don't know. I was gonna call it like a devil may care type of approach, but it's more or less like, you know, when your partner is kind of letting you get that close to them, right? Like, look at this stance. You have your right leg forward. Steven's kind of neutral here, right? And he does a quick shot and just goes in for almost like a sweep single, you know, towards the outside. And this is the only reason I'm saying it's a sweep signal. And then, yeah, I mean, here you've got so many options. He winds up coming up into the middle, into the inside. But he, you know, you also, Steven, could have done what, like a knee pick, like what Jason does so well, right? Just kind of like, before you put the leg in between, if you can go back a few frames. Yep, so he just comes straight up, and then here, what Jason does is he just pulls down and launches up with the knee.
Yeah.
And winds up taking somebody over that way. So you got so many options from that knee pick. I guess, is that more of a knee pick than a single, like than a sweep single?
What he did to me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a sweep single more, it has more to do with like your motion around the leg, like on the floor.
Around the back, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'd probably, I guess if you were gonna make me call it something, that would probably just be is that a high crotch single maybe?
I thought high crotch was up the middle with like the you know, like that would be your right arm under the right leg.
You might be right. I was never fully clear on that.
I have been watching Instagram reels, so I'm kind of an expert.
Yes. Either way, you got me down. Meanwhile, it looks like Chris survived that initial threat from James. We're about to go off screen, though.
Is that Luke? Who's Luke training with in the back?
Sean.
Okay.
Oh yeah, there we go. So wait a minute, Steven. There was an initial body lock. Yeah, okay, this is what I wanted to talk about. So, off that single, Steven sets up his body lock. I try to go for the shoulder crunch, but his elbow's too tight. So right here, as I feel him kind of crunching my heels into my butt, I go both hands onto his shoulders, getting the head off to one side, but really like my intention here is to get my shoulders as far away from him. It's almost like a more muscly way to get to the forward shift, where like, you know, you sit up and then you kick them away. As you kick them away, their head travels further down your body, so they're not, you know, your heels aren't close to your butt and all that. This is just more, I couldn't shift him, so I try to just push and shimmy away, like shoulder walking away. Now I can get myself up with that space that I've created. He starts to work. I can get him off balance, get my guard back. So it was a way to disrupt his initial forward progress. Then we fast forward a little bit. He gets me back into another body lock. And I go to the same thing. I start to push him down the body. And this is where he just hits a well-timed, I don't even want to call it like a cartwheel pass, but just like that jumping pass where I honestly think it's probably a good answer for this. I feel like in the past I haven't been too keen on these sorts of passes because it just leaves a bunch of room open and you have to hope that you don't, like, you know, just get caught on the way around. But here at this point, like, I've pushed him so far down the body, and he's timing it well to my push that, like, I'm not at all prepared to regard here.
Yeah.
And then from here, he's kind of in that side body lock position. He could easily crawl his way up the body. Maybe I just suck at guard retention against that pass, but there was something about the way he did it that time, coupled with my defense of that body lock, that seemed to click for me as a good option for when people try to stymie your body lock pass in that way.
Yeah, I mean, Butterfly, you know, was like super popular, obviously, when Marcelo was, you know, really hot and made his big runs and stuff. And then, like, when we started training in that time frame, Butterfly was like not a guard anymore, right? Like, so many people stopped using it. And then, like, Adam Warinsky in the gi kind of brought it back, you know, in the gi at least. And then everybody kind of just thought it was a gi type of a guard. Mm-hmm. And then when DDS came around, you saw a lot of people playing like that half butterfly, the Henzo style butterfly. I guess where I'm going with this is that butterfly is very, you know, it's a difficult guard to play in some respects. Like there are some things you have to have constant tension on your opponent, right? Mm-hmm. Like they can't. As soon as they back away from butterfly, the butterfly is ineffective.
Yeah. And
that's essentially what he's doing with that jump over. Is just he's relieving tension from your butterfly.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. About ate his hip right here. Just got my face out of the way in time. Another jumping guard pass I wasn't ready for.
Yeah, he's just riding right up the shins when he does that.
What happened with James and Chris here? Oh, nice response to that attempted double ankle sweep. So, look at that vulnerability. I think, James, correct me if I'm wrong, it looks like you already have that arm in some trouble here when he goes for it. Well, you just have wrist control. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have both ankles, though. So, James's base isn't under as much threat there as I thought initially. That's why he's able to control it, get the pass in the sub. I feel like I spent this entire round just like pushing Steven off of me and then dealing with a bunch of forward pressure over and over.
Yeah, that's like all my rolls. Yeah, you dove straight over him. I mean, it's again like kind of like what Steven was saying. It's you actually use the very similar tactic to what Steven does with the jumping guard pass. That way you just kind of lock down his arm.
Yeah, that could be a really interesting answer to Chris's flexibility.
Into the cross Ashi.
Yeah, this is just a pretty classic dilemma I set up with Chris. So I'm trying to dig on the heel. I'm not getting it. I switch to the secondary leg. Start to set up my straight ankle threat on it. Really, I'm just trying to get it under control. Give him a reason to pull the leg away. And when he does, quick switch to the other leg. Who's Mitch rolling with? Is that Jason? Or Steven? Okay.
No, Steven.
Oh, Steven. Some commitment on that one, man. So with the lateral drop here, the over-under. This is nice. Getting your hips all the way under Mitch's hips here, committing to the turn, bent all the way at the knees. Like, I think where this goes wrong for a lot of people is either trying to hit it when they're too upright. This one, you're committing to the fall, which is probably the hardest part for most people. And Mitch goes for a little ride. That looked good. Pinball, if you're watching, what would that be in judo? What would a lateral drop or an over-under throw be in judo? I feel like I should know that. So here, my approach to passing with Chris is probably more sloppy than some of the other ones we've seen at this point. Go back a second. So in dealing with his half guard, my intention here is to get my left knee in against his hip, which is really what I'm trying to focus on there, right? As soon as I can clear that knee, get his knees pointed away, and I feel like I'm at a much better spot to pass now, only stuck in quarter guard or three-quarter guard or whatever. Quarter guard, three-quarter mount. That's what it is. And then now, kind of like we saw, well, I guess I get my leg free, but even if I hadn't, this is like what we saw with Steven earlier against Ronnie. Go ahead and keep my leg, it's fine. I'll try to work to your back instead. But here I'd already got my leg free, so I go to set up my gift wrap to take the back. Really focusing on getting my chest behind his arm. It's not just getting that wrist grip. You really, really want to turn their shoulders up. So if you can, when you guys are going for your gift wraps, make sure that you're cutting your angle, getting your chest flat to his tricep, and then you'll see me kind of push his arm over with my chest as I pull the arm around his body, like right there. That's going to start giving me the back exposure. Some of you, it's extremely difficult. Mike, I don't think you've let me do that in like forever.
Yeah.
You're a lot of you are very good about turning back defensively, hiding your back on the mat. But that's my goal there when I'm in this position. Mitchell with the, oh man, I thought he was going to get that. Almost had the tripod sweep. I don't know if you're exaggerating, Pinball, but I literally have a 28-inch inseam, so I'm right there with you. The only reason it's working for me right now is Chris is about my size too.
Chris has a 27-inch waist.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I love body triangles when I could get them. It's not a frequent thing though. More often than not, you'll see me either doing this, crossing my ankles up high. Honestly, I probably cross my ankles low too. I don't really care about getting caught there. Or you'll see me instead let's go back a few frames. I'll keep my bottom leg where it is, so up across his waist, but then my locking leg will be stepping on his hip in that what I know Danaher likes to call post rear mount position, where you're posting on the leg or posting on the hip from rear mount. Not quite as good as a body triangle, better than hooks in my opinion. Right here, I'm just trying to use my crossed ankles though to keep that arm trapped. Yeah, that probably doesn't make it any easier. Don't remember. I don't think I get anything with this. Yeah, we're coming up on time here, so I didn't want to wrist lock him the way Caleb had been doing relentlessly. Oh yeah, Sean and I have a fun one. Steven and Chris. Looks like Jason is showing Pablo the... What is he showing him? I don't know if it's case of... Okay, case of defenses.
Oh.
Got it. See if Steven flies past Chris's guard. I think of all the approaches that we take, I feel bad. I don't know if Chris watches the stream or not. If he does, I hope he doesn't feel like we're all just plotting against him. His guard is just a unique problem. But like of all the approaches we take against him, a lot of times I find the control of the head up top using the threat of the submission is a pretty useful way to get by. In fact, Steven, I think if you had kept that headlock, it would have probably paired well with what you do here in the body lock, where you step over this knee. I think you probably could have done the same there. Doesn't matter either way. You got around very nicely with that. But I know, the front headlock, we saw Sean get the guillotine trying to pass earlier. I think he's a little prone to darces just with how Chris likes to play his guard tightly. Kind of.
I tell him straight up that I like playing. Like I want him to be in guard so I can practice how to pass it. Like
yeah, it's no secret.
No, I have no shame. You got a good guard or you got a good whatever. I'm playing it.
Yeah. I really need to work on this like rear triangle setup and the defensive role that people make here, like that Ronnie frequently executes, that Sean just did.
I have a hard time setting it up that way. Personally, you know, if I'm gonna go for the rear triangle, I normally set it up from a back take, like a traditional back take, and then just hike the shoulder over. So I would actually be coming at it from the opposite side. The way that you have your leg over top and you're in almost an S mount here, I would be going for a traditional triangle, mounted triangle with my left leg pointed that way, you know, and all of that. That's
switching the legs
hard.
Essentially.
I'm sorry?
Switching the legs?
I would be switching the legs. It like if it were me, I would be sitting on his chest. My left leg would be pointing over towards the lion or like into that corner, and I'd be trying to either attack his left arm for an arm bar or setting up that mounted triangle, or both at the same time.
Yeah, my head was also like over top of his head and chest here. I wasn't really leaning too far in the direction that would make it difficult for him to turn against.
Yeah, I guess if you were sitting in that position, or if you were already there, can you go back real quick?
Yeah, sorry.
To where you basically step over with the left leg, which you already stepped over here. There's some reason you have your right leg fully extended. I don't know whether he was pushing against your ankle to try and keep you at bay. Do you remember?
I think I was looking to eventually bring it up underneath his arm into like an S mount.
Okay.
It was just like mid move, you know.
And he's a strong dude. Like he's shockingly strong. So he's probably pushing into your hip with that left hand and getting your weight like up and back a little bit.
Yeah.
But otherwise it would be like you said, just kind of, you know, putting weight over on, you know, on top of that that far shoulder, and then, you know, scooping your right leg across, and that would work too. Yeah. I just don't generally set it up that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to try it your way. See if I have more success with it. Let's go, Jordan. Show Mitchell what's up. Here we go, Mitchell. Show Jordan what's up. A little too upright, both of you. You guys looking like you're
Nice
rolling
arm
at the end
drag.
of the night. Yeah,
That was
yeah.
nice. I really like the use of the hip switching that Mitchell just did to start getting to Jordan's left hip. So Jordan's got his knee basically in the hip crease of Mitchell here. That is not conceding the pass. He's kind of has like a side guard. So his left elbow is tight. He's got a knee elbow connection. Mitchell can't secure a side position. So what does Mitchell do? He actually sits to his left hip with a little hip switch here, rides up the thigh, and in between, he shoves his knee in between the like underneath the shoulder of Jordan, and then from there he can clear out the path to get to that side control.
Yeah, breaks the knee elbow connection.
Yep, it's a very subtle hip switch, but it can be very powerful.
Little ninja.
Oh, I
roll
remember
and
watching
shove.
that back take
Yeah.
that you did on him.
Yeah, so just from the knee staple, it's like, you know what? Let's try it. I never do it.
Yeah, the ninja roll. That's right. That's
Yeah,
cool.
Rolling through, heels to the ground, then set up my upper body connection, get my legs in. He tries to catch me with my ankles crossed, but I was long gone by then. And then now it's just kind of into my traditional hand fighting game using the straitjacket method. I think.
Yeah, you had gotten his left arm trapped there for a while. I think wound up getting him to the neck.
All right, let's see. I'm gonna hide you for a second. We'll watch the rest of this round. Oops, that's me. Clean takedown. Oh, I totally missed it. It's a Steven and Chris.
Oh, yeah.
Dirty double.
Threw the hands behind him, dove in. That was nice.
And the constant knee stepping through this, like he's driving forward the whole time. Like you see, he takes his right knee stepping forward, left knee stepping forward, right knee stepping forward. Like this isn't the lower level get the knees and then hope for the best. Like this is how doubles need to be finished. You have to drive through. That was more of like, I guess you'd probably call that a bit more of a blast double since it was up the center. Again, I'm talking out of school here as a not wrestler. But yeah, I mean, whether you're driving, whether you're cutting around the corner or driving straight through your opponent, like that's excellent. That's what we want to see.
Yeah, that was clean.
Yeah, we saw that. We'll go to the last round. All right, James and Jason. Should be a good round. Steven immediately attacking a guillotine on Sean. That looks deep. Sean's forehead looks very red. Gets the pass. Really heavy head pressure from both of them here.
Yeah. Knee pick. Down
Almost.
Into the guillotine.
Good defense, James.
Yes.
Sprawling that leg back. Now Jason's immediately on the hand fight. Yeah, so this is the last round of the night, and this is where a lot of that head pressure that they started the round with can really, really make a difference. Like I think we see a lot of that when we watch like these 30 or 40 minute matches at the higher level. You know, try to cook your opponent, get them really tired right off the bat. We don't have that luxury with 6-minute rounds, but at 54 minutes in, and you're doing your last match. That's where you can really start to get a feel for how fatiguing your opponent can make a huge difference.
James is trying to get to like a Katagatame position here.
Good luck with Jason.
Yeah.
Let's see, a little sweep here. Just a classic Upa from Sean. again, I think that speaks to the fatigue factor here too. Like we talked about how the UPA is probably the first mount escape move that gets shut down and people give up on it. It's like, well, it's effective at some of those more tired minutes that you're fighting in.
Yeah, Steven, I thought you had that too. I thought he was going to go out, to be honest with you. I don't know how tight it felt when you were there, but it's very, very tight.
I didn't even realize he was attacking an Ezekiel there.
You couldn't really see it from here, but that's why he was really top heavy. He was strangling him.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes even more sense. Because yeah, your arm has to be really committed on that.
Yep. It's one of the reasons I don't really go for the Ezekiel is because it brings my elbows in too tight.
Yeah.
Personally, but if you can get it, then get it.
Quick run around the guard there.
I think that Ezekiel really tore into Sean. There's nothing like a good deep submission threat to get somebody like exhausted for the rest of the round, you know?
Yeah. Jason's having a fun time right now.
Conceded mount.
Yeah, I wish he could do better here. You want to roll to a guard. You don't want to roll to a mount or a side control.
I think he was thinking his grip on James's left hand was better than it was. He kind of went for a quick grab on that left hand, and wasn't able to really get much. You see his hand go back down towards the waist.
Yeah, and like one thing Jason could do here is instead of rolling to the side, well, I was gonna say he could try to like kind of forward roll and
Granby roll out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. James's hips are right over Jason's hips, which is it might be a little bit more hard. Like you kind of have to, your hips have to come up a little bit on that forward roll. Might be a little bit more difficult the way James was like weighing him down there. Could also just stand up. Got to be careful of the neck on the way up, but you really could like sit out from there and try to stand. As long as you have control over at least one of the arms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Derek Lewis style.
Exactly. Steven making
triangle.
Doesn't get the triangle connection with the legs, but
you really, James, need to turn to your right. If you start turning to your right and getting your knee to push into his head, or into the shoulder, then I feel like that would have been a very strong strangle.
Yeah, Jason was smart to get his hands connected there, though.
Of course.
That was. I saw the hand on the knee. I didn't realize he made a connection with his hands here, though. That I think he did, at least. It looked like.
I think he did too. I have a hard. Ooh, nice.
Tariq.
Oh. Did you not get it? Did you not feel like you had it, or what was your reason for bailing on that, James?
Yeah.
That looked deep.
Yeah, that was nice. Good relentless pressure the whole way through the end of that round, though, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let us know if that was why'd you bail on that.
I gotta throw that into training more. That is one Kimura finish that I neglect.
Said he's stronger than me.
Dude, he's a beast.
Yeah, but to that point, James, and I'm not disagreeing with you. James or Jason is stronger than you, but the Tarika Plata is a great Kimura finish because it uses your legs against his arm.
And the arm doesn't have to go behind the back.
Yeah.
Like you finish it with the hand in front of the chest.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, try it again. Like next. I don't want you to do it on me because you had me in a similar position. But I guess if you have to, go ahead. Next time you find yourself in the dorsal Kimura position, think about trying the Tarika Plata instead, and just throw it on slow. You don't have to go crazy with it, but yeah, just slowly kind of work your hips around, lead with your leg as you cut the corner, see if it works for you. Yeah, thank you, Steven. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for the chat. As always, we really, really appreciate it. Thank you to some of our new followers. We had a couple more follow us over the week. Stoic 3D and Danny PMP. We appreciate the follow.
Thank you.
Yeah, and yeah, if you're lurking in the chat, go ahead and hit the follow button. If you like what we're doing, hit the subscribe button. Give us your Twitch Prime. It's free, and it really helps us out. So we always appreciate that. We'll see you later, James.
Yeah.
Also, go follow us on YouTube. Subscribe there. And yeah, we'll leave it at that. Any other news, school news, competitions coming up April 1st? We got 2. Go look at the board when you get to class and let us know if you guys want to compete, as always. In the meantime, go trim your nails and do your laundry and don't be stinky. And we'll see you guys at class. Take it easy.
Later.